So Nepantla is a Nahuatl word, as you know. It has many meanings, but one of the meanings is in between. And Anzaldúa started theorizing and using the word Nepantla after Borderlands La Frontera, which is the book she's best known for. It was published in 1987. She realized people were only thinking of the borderlands as a geographic space, which she meant, but she also meant it as this complex liminal threshold of chaos and pain and trauma from which maybe healing would emerge, but maybe not, right? So she meant it in the way that she ended up using Nepantla, but she decided, people were interpreting borderlands differently, so she came up with, or she started using this idea of Nepantla. And she also was influenced by Victor Turner, for example, and by post-colonial thought, which was talking a lot about liminality. So when we think of a liminal space, it's a threshold. And a threshold isn't inside and it's not outside, but it's kind of both. And in some ancient rituals, when people cross a threshold, it's almost like going down into a kind of abyss or chaos. They don't know what will happen. You step into it or you're forced into it. And transformation happens, might be good, it might be bad. It's a lot of uncertainty. And so Nepantla contains all of those ideas that she would use in different kinds of ways, depending on what she was writing about. And sometimes we can get so excited about the idea of transformation. It's like, yay, change is good. But with Nepantla is also built into it the fact that pain can really hurt, even if it might be good. I mean, the transformation can really hurt, even if maybe it's good or maybe not. So Nepantla, in a nutshell, that would be some of the meanings of Nepantla.
Yeah, I think the first time I read that word, and Nepantlera in particular, I felt so seen. I felt like I came home, because it's, from a very young age, whether it's in my family or in other situations. I know that she talked a lot about being this bridge called my back, and that Nepantleras come to be these bridge builders and don't really fit in any one place, but they could see the connection across things, and that place is a place for psychic and got a lot of big sun coming in. See if I can move. Thank you, grandfather sun. Yeah, so I remember just feeling really seen as someone who often played this bridge role. And I remember her talking about this place can be very painful, and you feel like you don't belong in any one camp kind of thing. And people may see you as betraying individual camps, but also that these people serve as points of psychic transformation to be able to bring wholeness to where there's a lot of division. And yeah, I felt really seen in that description as someone who came here to be a bridge builder, and that my back is a bridge, right? And that can be a both beautiful place and and she is in those sunbeams. I just saw that. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I felt like that was the reason it came in at that moment. Yeah.
I think Nepantlera is one of her most original theories, right? She created that word, and it's someone who has experienced that Nepantla, and instead of being like, okay, I understand this, now I'm over here, and they stay in some other spot, a Nepantlera through choice witnesses to all sides, even sometimes like, ooh, right? I mean, like, honestly, it doesn't mean just like picking and choosing. It means like being there to do this kind of very, sometimes challenging, potentially very positively transformational bridging work. I felt the same way. Like when I was reading her drafts of Now Let Us Shift, where was in the writing process, she came up with that theory, looking back at her own experience in a 1990 conference, right? So it's her. Nepantlera is the ultimate Anzaldúa, right?
Yeah.
But when I read that, I was like, yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like, wow, yes, this describes.
And it feels like the work of our time, right? Where there's a lot of indigenous prophecy around this time, and humanity having kind of, the medicine wheel or the hoop of humanity having broken apart, and that this is the time of us needing to come back together and bringing a lot of these indigenous perspectives back so that humanity can come back together, not just in relationship to other peoples, but also to our larger kinship with the non-human world, right? And the liminal, we were talking about this before folks came on, like the liminal is such an important space in this time. the mystic, I shared that I go to a lot of intermystic leader meetings, which is really different from interfaith gatherings. And this piece around being able to drop in together and across difference and perspective, and to really listen to each other and be in practice together. Like, we're not going to get where we need to go as a humanity in the intellectual space. It's going to be in that liminal, intuitive Nepantla space that's going to get us there. Yeah. I want to read a quote from the opening quote from that paper in the Nepantla issue. If you're interested in Nepantla, Brenda has a whole issue that's just on the topic of Nepantla, and this is an art. There's an article in there by you. In Nepantla, we undergo the anguish of changing our perspective and crossing a series of cruces, junctures, and thresholds, some leading to a different way of relating to people and surroundings, and others to the creation of a new world. And I love that you said in there, like, I want to talk to you a little bit about Nepantla first, but then, I want to go into some lessons. And so the first lesson you spoke about was embracing contradiction. Do you want to say a little bit about Gloria's kind of perspective on embracing contradiction in that Nepantla space?
Yeah, and to link it with what you said before about Indigenous knowledges coming back, or how we need this Nepantla perspective. Right now we have too often it's us against them. It's these binaries, these polarizations, right? And this idea of embracing contradiction means holding the multiplicity. It's more than two, and perspectives might not seem to make sense, but instead of deciding something immediately, it's kind of sitting with that contradiction and being willing to be uncertain for a while. Nepantla is uncertainty, right? And I see that all the way going back to something early Anzaldúa wrote about El Mundo Zurdo, when she, in this bridge called My Back, La Prieta, when she talks about aligning herself with Marxists and with people who study the occult and with artists and with gay white men and with like all sorts of people, and every group is saying, no, you only have to be with us. And she's saying, I can be with all of you. I can reject the rules and I can embrace you, and then just sit with that and create something new. So I think we really need to figure out how to get our minds and our hearts in a space where we can start to think differently or be open to other possibilities, because what we have now, a lot of it is not working.
Yeah. I love the quote that you had in there about kind of moving from the either or us against, to the stepping into an and, both and, being able to hold multiple perspectives in that way. And that there's so much more available. It may be uncomfortable for sure, but there's so much more available when we switch our worldview to be able to hold those multiple viewpoints and embrace that contradiction. And then that was your second point, embracing contradiction. I was really intrigued by that too, just being able to, so many images like of some of our indigenous deities who like have, myth stories of being broken into many pieces and coming back together. So I'm curious for you, what are some things you want to share about how Gloria embraced contradiction in the way that she helped us work?
Yeah, and I'll just link it with the first lesson, which was to have faith in our inner wisdom and our soul's vision, right? Mm-hmm. Because what I saw Gloria doing as she could sit with the contradictions was there was this faith in both an inner wisdom and a faith in a larger cosmic harmony, even when we can't see it. Mm-hmm. The relationality of it all. If you can, even when you can't see it, if you can know that of that relationality, you can know that like we're all interconnected, then you can, sometimes have a little more patience to allow things to arise. So it created in her like, I think that's why, I would go to some talks with her and I'd see her do book signings, and she was so good at just listening and giving time for each person and just listening. So there was this kind of like, the ability to just sit and be open, right? Not open to be like talking, but open to listen and to hear with the kind of like respect of the other person, and not just human people. I'm not talking just human people. It might be, it was often for her trees or Yamaya and the ocean and all of that. So being open, or a field that she was walking through. So being open and receptive to listen, right? It's just an important part. And I think that receptivity grounded in a kind of faith in oneself or the soul can then lead to a little more ability to hold the contradictions.